There's more to imagine when you listen, so let your imagination soar with Audible. Audible has audio titles from every genre that will inspire you to imagine new worlds, possibilities, and ways of thinking. As an Audible member, you get to choose one title a month to keep from their entire catalog. Enjoy an exciting reawakening of a beloved classic with the Audible original David Copperfield by Charles Dickens, produced by Academy Award-winning director Sam Mendes, starring Ncuti Gatwa, Helena Bonham Carter, and Theo James. This adaptation breathes new life into a familiar tale. New members can try Audible free for 30 days. Visit audible.com/imagine or text IMAGINE to 500-500. That's audible.com/imagine or text IMAGINE to 500-500.
And welcome back to Little Cuts, our weekly mini-sode where we dig into things that we've been watching and playing recently. I think that's it. I'm Terry. Welcome back.
I'm Mary Beth. I hope everyone is okay. Like, I don't really know. This week we're talking about, we're catching up on a lot of stuff that we've both been, like, just consuming, but we'll also talk about the latest from Two Witches director Pierre Sigarides, Rebecca Ferguson being a badass, a sock creature, very sexy babies, and throwing wine.
Yeah. I mean, what do we say?
Look at what I'm making.
Oh my gosh.
Sorry, listeners,
so
it's really bad, but I'm crocheting something, and it's like a mandala. That's what I turned into a blanket, and it's been my, this is like my stress project, because I'm trying to cut back on smoking weed for my health, so this is what I've been doing instead, and it's very pretty. There's pictures online, but I had to show it off, because I'm very proud of it.
You know, you're basically, you're Jack Donaghy right now.
I know.
That episode,
yep.
He gave up drinking and he started crocheting.
Look, It's helpful. So
it is.
What am I to do here? It's Stardew Valley or crochet, and you know what? Whatever. Anyway, besides that, what are some various things you've been consuming and up to? Because I know I have some weird shit.
Okay, so it feels like Mary Beth and I were talking about this offline, where it feels like we haven't really recorded in like a month or talked about what we've seen in a month, even though it has only been a couple weeks. But I feel like
2 weeks.
I know, but I feel like I've seen a bunch of stuff, and not all of it's great. But like, I just want to sort of like catch people up with some of the things that is out there that I've seen, really quickly, typically. But like, so I saw Beetlejuice finally.
Oh, you did? I haven't seen it yet. I feel bad. Like, I love Beetlejuice. It just, like, I'm not that excited about it. And I know people really liked it. I don't know. It's one of those things that I'm like, we didn't need it, and I just don't feel like I need it. Yeah. Maybe that's, like, a shitty, weird, like, suck-up take, but...
So there's moments about it that I really enjoyed. I think the script needed to be streamlined a bit. Because there's a lot going on, and I feel that way about a lot of movies. A lot of like theatrical mainstream movies, I feel like there's a little too much going on, and sometimes they're sort of
absolutely.
missing the plot. Because like we have Beetlejuice, who we discover his ex-wife has like sewn herself back together, a la Sally in Nightmare Before Christmas, and is coming to suck his soul.
And it's Monica Bellucci, baby.
It is.
She can suck my soul anytime she wants. I heard she's not in it that much, though. Like, people are kind of bummed that she's not in it that much. And I'm like, how could you waste such a beautiful babe?
This is the problem. She's not in it enough. That is a whole subplot with her, and then Willem Dafoe, who plays...
Oh, fuck! I forgot he was in this.
Yeah, so he's like, he's dead... But he was an actor in real life playing a cop, and so in the afterlife he is a cop, or he likes to style himself as a cop. And so his whole thing is really like, there's a lot of really great moments in this. The effects are really good. It somehow manages to feel like a Beetlejuice movie with a lot of like stop motion, a lot of practical effects. So there's a lot of that stuff that I really dug. There's a really cool stop motion thing because, you know, it turns out that, what's his name? Is it Jeffrey Jones? Is that what was his name? The guy that played the father.
The fucking like the sex pest, or
yeah. He was sharing child pornography.
That's right. I was like, what weird fucked up thing did he do? Like, I couldn't remember. Yeah. Anyway,
they killed him off in between these two movies, but there is this moment where like he is because he's not in this movie, but there's a stop motion version of him who like goes on a plane trip to go bird watching, and the plane crashes, and then he ends up getting eaten by a shark, and it's all done in stop motion, and it's really kind of cool.
Oh, that's kind of cool. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So there's like
respect.
a lot of individual scenes, but like the whole plot, there's one particular plot involving Jenna Ortega's character Astrid, who is Lydia Dietz's daughter, where she finds like a love interest in this town, and there's that story is really interesting, and it could have been a lot stronger if they had just focused on that and cut all the other excess away from it. It would have been really interesting.
Is it gay?
No. No. Unfortunately.
I had to ask.
No, it's a very valid question. Yeah. So it's a hit or miss thing for me.
Okay.
But I enjoyed it, but I wish that they had stuck with one story instead of having like a bazillion stories all into one. A lot of great ideas that on their own could have made itself a movie, but they couldn't choose, it felt like. I also saw Heretic. Have you seen Heretic?
I have.
What did you think?
Oh, I really liked it.
Okay.
You didn't?
I liked it up until the end.
Okay.
I was really digging the kind of conversation about religion and that aspect of it. Like, I was really digging that. But then once things happen after that moment, I was like, I'm not.
I'll cut this part out, or spoilers. I'll figure it out when I edit this. TBD. Mary Beth in the future. Figure out what to do here.
Well, if we're gonna do spoilers, because I want to tell you one of the things that really bugged me about it. But please go on.
Let's just do spoilers then. Fuck it. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I'll mark it. It gave me Martyrs vibes a little bit.
Yes. Okay. So that is, I think, the thing
that's exactly the thing you were trying to say.
Yes.
Yeah. Because it's like it's Martyr. I literally saw it and was wearing my Martyrs t-shirt at Fantastic Fest, and I was like, I could not have worn a better shirt for this movie. It's like American watered down Martyrs. It's very weird. It's very much that movie.
And see that, so it's funny because I posted on Blue Sky that that I went to go see this, and then my response was like, I don't want to say why I didn't care for it, because it's a big spoiler. And so the thing that like I enjoyed initially was when Hugh Grant's character is talking about how he's using an analogy of like you've heard the song Creep because Creep is basically this other song, and then it's the same thing with the Bible and stuff, and I'm like, okay, that is a great point to make, but then you make a movie that is basically like a watered down version of Martyrs. So like it's like riffing on the same thing, and so I was like, I don't know if this is trying to be meta or if you just are like, I don't know what's going on here, but it just the last
have
part
you
of
boys
it.
seen Martyrs? Have you boys ever seen the movie Martyrs before? Do you understand what weird shit you're doing here?
Yeah, so I just
and we all know that you and I disagree on Martyrs, so that's valid. We were like,
I just thought it was funny that like he's making a point about how everything is like iterating on everything else, and then what does this movie do? It iterates on Martyrs and is a watered down version of that movie. Just like how he was saying that, you know, religion like pulls from other things and is just like a watered down version of the history before Christianity and all that other stuff. So it's just like you're making a point here, and then you ruin it by making a movie that is literally a watered down version of Martyrs. So that's where it kind of lost me.
That's fair. No, I get that. 100%. I really liked it. I thought they did a really good job for what it how little they did with it, how interesting it was, and how good the performances are. I think it's
the performances.
Beckett Woods, you guys can do a good job, and sometimes you guys fucking flub it. It's very interesting.
Yeah,
let women do that. Can we let more women do that, please? Because like I don't disagree with letting that happen. I mean, they've made some cool movies, but like let more women do
that's how art is made, right? You got to let people fuck up, and you got to let people, you know, figure things out through the process, and that's great. I'm glad that and you're right. The performances, like, that was pulling me through. Hugh Grant is fantastic in this.
He's so good in this movie. Like, he is incredible.
Perfect way of playing, like, quote unquote against type in terms of the roles that he plays.
Yeah, because he doesn't usually play bad guys like this.
No.
He's usually the hot. He's still pretty hot though.
Yeah.
Lock me in your basement, Daddy. Sorry, that's
This is a horny episode.
might only
I'm
get
here
worse.
for
Who
it.
knows?
I'm here for it. And then the other one that I just briefly wanted to mention that I really did enjoy is My Old Ass.
Oh, I haven't seen it yet. I heard it's really good.
Yeah, so that is the queer coming of age movie with Aubrey Plaza and Macy Stella,
What
who
has she been in?
Macy Stella was in Nashville. I was like it's like I want to say
Fuck is
Tennessee, but it's
Nashville?
Nashville. It was a TV series. I don't know. About a country music star, I think.
You know
That's
what?
like the big thing.
Oh
she
yeah,
was in.
okay. I'm just like
I never saw it, but
I don't think I'm the target demographic.
same. But she is really good in this. But she plays this teenager that does shrooms for the first time and has a trip where she sees her future self, and her future self tells her to stay away from Chad, and then she meets Chad, and she doesn't stay away from Chad, and it sort of follows that story, and it's really funny. It's really actually kind of heartwarming in a way, and it kind of
that. I've heard it's very sweet.
it is, and it made me like happy. It made me sad. The performances are really great. I'm telling you, Macy Stella is really good in this.
Okay.
And it's directed and written by Megan Park, who did The Fallout, which I've not seen. But that was
the Jenna Ortega movie about the school
shooting, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, the school shooting movie. But I heard really good things about that too. So.
Me too. It was just a little too heavy.
Yeah, no, I wasn't like totally feeling that, and because it's not horror. The nice thing about being a horror journalist is I can actually just be like, I don't need to watch it.
Exactly. But those are the big things. I would really unabashedly recommend My Old Ass. I believe it is out right now.
Yeah, I believe it's on Prime.
Yeah, I think
it's a Prime movie,
it is
right?
on Prime. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep, it's on Prime right now.
Cool.
So that's sort of what I've been catching up. What have you?
Okay, so before we jump into like what we've been like really watching and want to recommend, I have to share my current hyperfixation, which is hysterical because it is not a tabletop, whatever Warhammer is considered.
Oh, like a tactics, like
yeah, like
tactical
like
RPG,
like an RPG where you have little men that you paint.
Oh, wargaming. Okay. Like so, not like
Warhammer, like Warhammer 40K shit. Not the video games, but like the IP.
Okay, I was thinking video games.
Sorry, I wasn't clear.
Wargaming.
So, this is a very funny story, and it is weirdly politically relevant. Steve and I got high one night, and he was like, hey, have you heard about like how all the weird Nazi chuds don't like Warhammer anymore because they made one of the most powerful like people. They said women could be this like powerful figure, and I was like, oh, God forbid the fantasy women are like strong. So they all went to this other like tabletop game called Trench Crusade. And Trench Crusade said, hey bitch, we're actually like we're like even further left than Warhammer. You gotta go. And Trench Crusade is an alternate reality World War I tabletop war game RPG where humanity is fighting demons because they opened the gates of hell at Jerusalem, and now the world has been embroiled in a centuries-long war with aberrations from hell, and they have created things like the Metachrist to save humanity. So obviously I'm incredibly drawn to this, and it was a Kickstarter that they just finished. They only wanted to raise like $67,000, and they've raised like over, I think, almost $3 million. And I do not have much care for playing the game, but Steve found a 60-page lore document. And guess who's been reading that lore document and also watching all of the lore videos on YouTube? Me.
Hell yeah.
Because it is my very particular brand of fucked up religious horror where it's the heretics, which are like the demons and like the things coming out of hell, versus the faithful who are so dedicated to God that they're willing to put themselves through like insurmountable amounts of pain to serve him. Everyone is very shocked that Mary Beth McAndrews likes this concept. But the lore document is so cool because it has like the concept art is like super fucked up but really interesting, and like, you know, they have a timeline where they have things like the demons from hell gain access to the Atlantic Ocean, and the demons in secret find out how to make modern submarines. Like, it is very much alternative history, but if during the Crusades they had found something and opened up a literal hell mouth, and then now they are fighting hell.
It's so funny. I almost backed this game.
No fucking way!
Yeah, not to play it, but because like I'm obsessed with painting miniatures. I haven't painted a miniature in a very long time, but there was a period of my life
Their
where I was
fucking
painting...
miniatures are cool as shit too.
Oh, they are. That is almost why I bought it. But I was like, no, Terry, you're not gonna paint them.
So
you
wait,
have,
I
like,
didn't
board
realize
games.
I didn't realize you painted miniatures. That was a thing for you for a long time.
Yeah, it was a hyperfixation for a while. I got, because I was buying all of these like board games that came with like tons of really cool miniatures, and I was like, I want to learn how to paint them, and so I learned, and I spent a whole way too much money on paints, like Warhammer paints and a variety of different paints to like paint them, and I was obsessed with it for a good amount of time.
Wait, that's so cool! And so all the miniatures in this are like super gross and fucked up and weird.
Oh, they're awesome.
And they're awesome. Like, and they're huge. Like, they're really big, or they look really big, like, for the miniatures. I didn't back it because it was, like, too expensive, and I wasn't really sure if I'd paint them. I was like, I've never done any of this shit before. All I know is that I love the lore, and all I want to do is engage in anything that is made around this without having to actually, like, paint anything.
Yeah,
so,
no, I get it.
Yeah, that's my current hyperfixation. It's just, like, watching lore videos and reading about it. And so once it comes out, I can't wait, because it's not even out. It's just like,
right.
It's not even out. So, because they were play testing it, which is why there's a lore document, and they have it online. Of course, now I'm fucking hot in this fucking thing. Jesus Christ. But they have a lore document online because of the play testing, and it has like all the info, like all this like crazy fucking info about the the different characters, about the timeline of the world, about like what's happening, what's happened. It's cool as fuck, and it's like gross and scary. Like, it's not, I don't know, it's very much like not grounded in reality because they're all fucking like weird demon creatures and like human weird Christ hybrids, but like it's very much like World War I aesthetics with some of the human people and like really interesting analogs or like comparisons to like what's going on in the real world versus like this fantasy world.
See, this is why we've been destined to be friends, Mary Beth, because like I will buy role-playing books, like Dungeons & Dragons style role-playing books, not to ever play it, but to just read the mechanics and read the lore.
Literally, my friend would bring over books from her dad's D&D, and we would just read about the monsters. Oh, look at him. Look at that little guy. Do you have, like, the magnifying glass and, like, the tiny little brushes and shit to, like, paint them?
I had the tiny little brushes.
Crazy.
Yeah, I had the little tiny brushes, but I was like, there was a period where I was obsessed with painting these little dudes. I mean, some of them I think I did pretty well on. This one I'm about ready to send you is like one of my favorites. But like, yeah, I was obsessed with miniature painting for a while, so I almost did back this because the miniatures are so cool.
Damn, Terry. Oh, you got like some textures in there. You got some cool shit
Yeah.
in here. Wow. Like, see these gradients and these textures.
I know.
Wow, we really
I
were
was
meant to be.
obsessed.
Every time we talk, I'm like, it's so funny. I'm like, we really were just meant to be friends.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's been like my thing. I'm like very excited about Trench Crusades. Again, I'm probably never gonna like actually play it, but I will read every piece of lore that comes out of that.
Hell yeah. I love that.
So yeah,
Cool.
that's been the hyperfixation and besides crocheting and playing Stardew Valley and other stuff we're gonna talk about. But yeah.
So the new Stardew Valley, speaking of which, the new 1.6 is out on consoles now, right? Have you been playing that?
Yes! I didn't even realize they were doing an update. I just like Stardew Valley is like my go-to. Like, I am very depressed and having a very hard time.
Same.
So I need to play something that like I know and that is very low impact, and like if I fuck something up, it is not going to like ruin me. So I've just been playing. I just started a new farm and I'm just like booping and dooping around. It's great. And I love the update. I haven't got like, it's not like super different, but there are some things where I'm like, oh, I didn't realize how much that's helpful in terms of just like little extra things of like when you have quests and you get part of that quest, a little thing comes down the counter and things like just like small things like that just make the game even more fun. But also, motherfucker, work on Haunted Chocolatier.
Yeah, seriously. Now that you're done with this, Give me ghosts in castles and chocolate.
I was like, stop. I love Stardew Valley, but we don't need the updates. Make the other game.
Stop,
I
dude,
want
please.
to play the Haunted Chocolatier game so bad. But yeah, that's it's very nice. It's very good.
Yeah.
It's very pretty. Lots of waterfalls in it now, which is great.
Oh, cool.
Unless I like
you're gonna
totally
make me want to
missed.
dive back into it.
I just played on my Switch. It's the best. It's the best.
Yeah.
I don't want to know how many hours I've logged in that game, but it is
we don't talk about that.
ungodly. Because on my laptop it was like almost 200, and I haven't played on my laptop in years, and it's just my fucking Switch, and the Switch doesn't tell me. My Switch won't lie to me. My Switch won't expose me like Steam will.
Oh, Steam! I'm telling you, like when it told me how many hours, almost 2,000, that I played in Smite, like just calling me out.
You don't have to tell me that. Like we don't. The world doesn't need to know that.
You don't need to know that.
I play with my friends, okay?
Exactly.
This is a
That was
social activity.
almost 2,000 hours that I played with a friend. That's how I look at it. Multiple friends.
Christ, that's so much Smite. But I respect it.
It is. Okay, I want to hear about the latest from Pierre, though, a former guest of the show.
Okay, so Pierre has made a new movie called Traumatika. And I think it debuted at Sitges or wherever. It debuted at like a European festival. And so it's not out anywhere else yet. Like, I was very lucky that he sent me a link because he was like, can you please review this? Like, we're trying to get distribution. But this is his second film. And I'm not actually sure what the synopsis even reads because I don't even know how you give this movie a synopsis, to be perfectly honest with you. It's called Traumatika, and let me fucking tell you, it is Traumatika. Oh, that is a very funny description on Letterboxd, I will say that. But essentially, there is an object that contains a demonic entity that loves to prey on children. And a guy lets it out, and guess what? Shit gets fucked. So, Sigarides, if you saw Two Witches, which we had him on the pod to talk about Two Witches, which is a movie we both loved, he follows a similar structure, again, of two halves, but this time it's like a little bit more of a connection, I guess. Like, the first part takes place when so Rebecca Kennedy's in this again. She was in Two Witches as one of the witches. She's in this now as another really scary character. We get her journey at the beginning, and then the back half is 20 years later, and it's from her sister's perspective. And her sister, like, reflecting upon what happened 20 years ago. And basically, her sister has written a book about it, and it's become, like, a true crime obsession. So it goes from this, like, really fucked up possession movie to a true crime slasher. And it's really interesting. I wish it was longer. I do wish it was longer. It's only 88 minutes, which I know doesn't sound like, oh, that's like a decent amount. But I think there's just like there's a lot of really cool things going on in this movie.
Two like parts of a story that.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
And so I just like the first half to me is the strongest part because we focus on like one character and we're trying to figure out what's going on with her. Then we go to the back half, and it's just, like, a little bit more. I wish we had rushed through it. It feels like a little bit rushed through in the back half. It doesn't necessarily make it bad. I just wish they had, like, given a little bit more info about the sister and all this stuff. But, regardless, lots of kid death. I'll be perfectly honest with you here. Very graphic deaths. Like, every fucked up thing you could probably think about happening happens in this movie. It's a difficult watch for sure. There are parts, and I'm still kind of parse my feelings about, like, is it borderline exploitative here, especially in the first part, where there's, like, Rebecca Kennedy's character is put through, like, so many horrible things for, like, 45 minutes? And again, it's not, like, August Underground level. I know, like, that's too extreme, but, like, you know, it's one of those movies where you watch it, and you're like, I don't fully know what to think, but, like, to me, as I've digested it, I only watched it today, so, like, I'm still digesting it. It really does speak to the reality of the horror of possession to me, though, and, like, the complete loss of bodily autonomy and how possession is essentially, like, rape. And it does a really interesting job of playing with that. In terms of just showing a very kind of different side of the possession movie. It will not be for everyone. I know that people will be like, this is too much. Why does it have to be like this? But I do think it's Sigarides again just showing like these his ability to make really weird, gross, fucked up movies that are also like incredibly intriguing and very smart. So yeah, it doesn't have distribution yet. I'm hoping it gets it soon because Two Witches was incredible, and this one is really good. It's just like much more upsetting. So I think it's a little bit harder because again, there's like so much shit with kids, and I know how hard it is for like people to get on board with that. So, but again, it's like playing in so many different sandboxes in a really fascinating way. Yeah, he's a really, I mean, I just can't wait for like each new thing he comes out with. I'm excited to see because he's really talented and makes some just absolutely bizarre stuff.
I'm excited. I enjoyed Two Witches a lot.
Yeah, and like again, Rebecca Kennedy is just like such an incredible performer. Like she's so scary. So it's just cool to keep seeing her do really weird fucked up stuff. Any hoozle. But talking about women being badass, Rebecca Ferguson being a badass?
Yeah, okay, so I'm going to try and not spoil things. So this is, I talked about Silo before, and this is the second season of Silo. That the first episode is premiering as of the drop of this episode. I loved the first season a whole lot. The second season, it's warming up on me, but it's taking a little bit, and it's really hard to talk about the second season without spoiling one of the big surprises of the first season. So I'm going to try to obliquely talk around it. But Silo, for those who have not been following, is sort of like a Fallout-esque type TV show that's based on a book series called Wool, WOOL. For some reason, I cannot say that word correctly tonight. And it is about this silo in the ground in the future that houses the remnants of society, and they've been told their entire lives that the outside world is poisoned. And the first season is like a kind of a neo-noir type detective season show where we're...
Has it really been that long since you talked about the first season?
It's been a year and a half-ish, I think.
Oh my god. Jesus Christ. Yeah. We talked about this like 2 months ago. No, you didn't. Oh,
what is time?
Geez. I know. I'm like,
what is time?
Didn't you just talk about this? No, you didn't. Anyway.
And so there's a murder mystery in the first season that
yes.
Rebecca Ferguson her character gets kind of embroiled in. And by the end of the season, okay, this is going to be the only spoiler I'm going to try to mention. She gets out of the silo. I'm not going to tell you what she finds. But she does get out of the silo. Okay. And the very first episode of this second season reveals that there are, again, minor spoiler, which is not surprising. I don't think this is a very surprising spoiler at all, but finds out that there are multiple silos.
Okay. I mean, usually
Fallout,
I feel like
vaults.
That's like, there's like the big surprise in a lot of those things. Like, oh, you're not alone.
I will say that the surprise at the end of the first season got me with what exactly is happening.
Wow.
Yes. Because Joe Lipset and I wrote about the first season, and he had read the book, so he knew kind of the first book, so he kind of knew what was going to happen.
Yeah.
Whereas I didn't, and by the end of the season, I was really surprised at some of the reveals that happened in it. But all I will say from a spoiler perspective is that she finds the remnants of another silo, and it's a really harrowing moment where she is literally walking on body parts as she is walking towards the silo. Like, all of the entire silo is dead. They all died, and she is just walking over corpses to get into the silo. And then it goes from there. So we're following her, who she meets a character named Solo, played by Steve Zahn. And she is stuck in this dilapidated silo, and we're following her while we're also following the rest of the silo that she came from, because her leaving has started a rebellion.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
So we are following what is the emerging rebellion in the silo that she came from, and then also the horrors that she discovers in the silo that she is now visiting.
Oh, Christ.
What I will say is that I do think I think the writer's strike kind of fucked this on a narrative basis, because when you start to look at the writers on the first half of the season, they're producers on the show, and none of them look like they wrote a whole lot from the first season. So
oh boy, okay, yeah.
Take that as you will, because I do think the quality kind of dropped in the first half, and the I've only seen the first 6 episodes, but the 6th episode like really started to come together and was a really good reminded me of the first season in terms of quality, and it was written by someone
Okay.
that was a staff writer on the first season for all 10 episodes and wrote one of the episodes from the previous season. So all of a sudden, it feels like
Okay.
the quality has increased a bit with that addition. So I'm not as happy with this season as I was the first season, but I do still think it's worth a watch. And I think that it defines itself a lot differently from Fallout, which has more of a dark kind of humor feel
Yeah,
to it.
because it's a little silly. It's like a camp, got a little more camp, silly, bright colors to it. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so this feels like it's a good companion piece, because I was like, when I was first watching the first Silo, I was like, this feels like Fallout, and then in the intervening time we've gotten a Fallout TV series, and I'm like, okay, they can both coexist because they're doing two totally separate things.
Yeah, it sounds like they're doing such different things and like are hitting very different audiences too.
Yeah,
That it kind of makes sense. Okay.
But I would recommend it if you haven't seen the first season. I highly recommend the first season because it is a fantastically paced detective story set in a post-apocalyptic world. And season 2 kind of ups the action a bit, but I do think it loses the plotting that I fell in love with in the first season. The first season is streaming on Apple TV Plus, and the second season started as of the drop of this episode. And go in with maybe some tempered expectations, but it is it's still good. I'm still really enjoying it. And if you're watching it, please follow along with Joe Lipset and I, because we are going to be writing about.
Yay!
We're going to be doing recaps of every episode. So
Hell yeah.
that's Silo. All right, a sock creature? Question mark?
Yes. Okay. So I would not have watched this if it hadn't come into my inbox and I hadn't been told like, hey, do you want to interview the director? And I was like, oh, the director is like actually pretty well known. Child actor. So this is Crust, directed by Sean Whalen, who was in The People Under the Stairs, and he was in Twister. He's been in a bunch of stuff. So Sean Whalen's like a character actor. He's one of those guys you probably have seen before, but like you don't know his name. And he directed this new movie called Crust. And it is a movie about it's a tiny indie that like he produced, wrote, and directed, and he stars in it with Rebecca Kennedy. I had a Rebecca Kennedy week this week, where he is a aging child star who's like super depressed and had gone through a really fucked up divorce and doesn't know what to do, and he's just like having the worst time. And one day after getting caught, he sleeps in the back room of this laundromat, and these guys come in and film him masturbating in his cot, and he's like, this is so fucking embarrassing. He cries a single, this movie's in black and white, he cries a single blue tear, and it brings to life Crust, a monster made entirely out of dirty socks.
What?
And Crust is essentially, it's like his fucking like id, and Crust will kill anyone who makes him mad. And Crust is a puppet. Like, it's not like a CGI. It's like an incredible puppet made out of socks that like kills people. And it's so, I know, it's insane.
This is amazing.
It sounds so silly, and it is, and they like play with that because they know it's silly, but they love it. So there's a lot of heart in it. Like, I was like, what is this? Like, I don't know. And I watched it and I was like, this is actually incredibly sweet about like loving yourself and finding yourself and like trying to build yourself back up after like a big depression, which I mean, I think a lot of us can identify with. And it's super goofy, and the tone is like silly and very, it's like there's so much joy in the movie. Like, you can tell they had so much fun making this movie because like Dan Roebuck's in it, who was on the show. Rebecca Kennedy, who was in Two Witches, is the romantic lead, which is cool because she finally plays a character who isn't like stabbing someone. Alan Ruck has an appearance in it because he and Sean are friends from Twister. Like, there's all the, and Felicia Rose is also in it.
Yeah.
Felicia Rose is in it as like his ex-wife. And so he's like, basically Sean Whalen pulled together like all of his acting friends and said, hey, how can I make a cheap single location horror movie that's kind of funny, heartwarming, and also a monster? And this was it. It took him like, he's been working on this since 2016, and it is finally out. I highly recommend it because like, again, it's silly, but I also think it's like the perfect movie for the moment in terms of like, if you want to kind of watch something and turn your brain off for a little bit and like just see something that's kind of happy, kind of silly, kind of fun. I think it's a really good kind of balm for an hour and 40 minutes. I was really surprised by it because again, I was like, this is gonna be just like goofy, and it is, but like so charmingly goofy. And so, like, because Sean Whalen is an actor and he knows all these actors, the acting is actually pretty good for a movie like this. Like, it's, I don't know, it was one of these surprises of this year for me, where I was like, I wouldn't have watched this if it hadn't, like, come into my inbox, and I was so glad it did, because it's like, oh, this is actually quite heartwarming for a movie about a monster made out of dirty, crusty socks. Like, it's so silly. I know! It's ridiculous, but it's great.
Is it out now? Is it out?
Yeah, it's out on VOD. It's out on VOD, so you can rent it. And then it comes to Blu-ray and DVD in December. So, yeah, you can watch it now. It's, I don't know, I think it's fun and silly.
Sounds fun.
And just, like, sweet. It's just sweet. And it's a single location. It's all in a fucking laundromat. It's really, I don't know. It's also just a really cool exercise in filmmaking and, like, making what you want and not doing something for the money or changing things for a studio. Which is, like, so many people we've talked to. So this was, like, Sean Whalen just being like, I want to make my own shit. I'm sick of, like, being at the whims of studios. So, I highly recommend it. It's called Crust.
Oh, yeah.
It's definitely goofy, but, like, there's nothing wrong with that. And it's, like,
No.
I think it's well made. I think it's a little too long in my opinion, but like that's fine. It's not egregious. It's just one of those things where I was like, I think you made it a little bit too complicated to make it silly, and I don't think it had to be as complicated, but like it doesn't like make it less impactful. It's just a little bit like, okay, we don't have to have all of this happening at once, but also like, who am I to fucking say you shouldn't have this in the fucking sock puppet monster movie? You know what I mean? So,
yeah,
I highly recommend it. It's streaming now, like for rental. So I would check it out. And it's cool that Sean Whalen gets to direct, and like it's great. So Crust.
Awesome. I'm gonna have to check that one out. That
you
sounds like
do.
Fun.
It's just fun. You know what I mean? Also, my friend just texted me asking, "Do you think aliens are real?" Out of fucking nowhere. I love that. Like, I just love that my friend just knows me so well to be like, "Do you believe in aliens?" And I'm like, Wednesday at 7:45. All right, let's go. All right. So now let's talk. We're heading into 30 Rock territory. I'm a very baby, and our nipples just touched. Sorry.
Mine are
that
so
fucking
big.
Killed me.
Mine are different sizes.
Mine are different sizes. I will say though, this episode made me want to punch something though. I think this is another episode that like I laughed at, but there's so much in it that I'm like, guys, this is just the time period. Don't get angry at it. Just because a lot of like feminism, it's like very like that time period feminism humor. But then also there's some stuff going on in it about Frank and his teacher that.
Oh no, that's the next episode.
Oh fuck me! This is what happens. I get them mixed up in my head. Sorry, my bad. Oops.
Yeah.
Sorry. Talk about that next one. But this one still, because there's like some weird fat jokes in it. Still, like I know it's the time period. It's just like it's hot when I'm watching it now. I'm like, it hasn't been that long, and yet things have changed in such an interesting way in media. Like, okay, yes, he's gonna play Xbox Connect shirtless. He's not that like he's. Like, it's the fat guy who's gonna be shirtless playing Xbox Connect. It's so gross. And I'm like, he's not even, like, I don't know. I'm just like, I'm sorry. I don't mean to shit on the episode. I'm sorry. My first out the gate, I'm like, there's too much weird shit in this.
Yes, there are moments. And I am glad because I definitely wanted to talk about the moment you were mentioning in the next episode because, but no.
It's all red on that one, but that's fine.
The thing about Lutz is that he's always being called like such a gross person, like the entirety of the show. So like by that time it's in here, I just took it as like it's just making fun of Lutz. But it is a fat joke, and I'm like, this dude, like I'm a fat
but like
guy.
he's not that fat. I know. I was watching. I'm like, this guy's moving around and like nothing is flapping, and like not to be gross, but I'm like, he's not gross looking. He's just like a guy who's bigger, and like, but there's not like he's not even that fat. And again, it's not a bad thing. I'm just saying like, there's always that in those series, there's always like the fat character that gets made fun of for being fat, and I was just like, oh, here it is, here we go with that like trope from that era.
See, yeah. And what so. I think on the feminism angle, one of the things that the show started to do in later episodes, later seasons, was because there is a lot of people writing about it. Like, while it wasn't viewed a whole lot, it was written about a whole lot by people. It was a critics thing that a lot of critics did recaps on and would cover. So, like, one of the things that kept getting tossed on the show is that it wasn't feminist. So this episode takes that, but it takes the piss out of itself in a way that I find very funny, because it's like she's like, it opens up with her an article saying that TGS hates women and that Liz Lemon hates women, and she's like, I don't understand. We're writing with Tracy. Side note: Tracy has gone to Africa because in real life Tracy Morgan was having issues.
Okay. He woke up and said, oh, by the way, I would like to leave the room now.
I would like to leave now.
I've seen your ass open doors before. I know the door is cracked, so you can open it with your fucking little paw like you do all the time. But of course he's not going to do it this time, because he says, I have diabetes. You have to do it for me. Anyway, Tracy...
Hilarious. Tracy Morgan Tracy Jordan is in Africa because Tracy Morgan had, I don't remember exactly what it was, but he couldn't film for part of the season, so like they turned it into the show. But anyway, so like what she says, that with him gone, everything has been, Jenna, and then it's montages of women in power saying, I had a period, and that's like the joke. And so
it's across the Pacific, my period.
Or Hillary Clinton, let's nuke England.
I'm a period. Let's nuke England.
But it's like it. So it is taking the critique and it is making fun of itself, which is something that the show does a lot.
Okay.
And that is one of the points of context for this, is that it was, there's a lot of articles saying that 30 Rock is not feminism. That 30 Rock, a lot of people said 30 Rock is Republican.
Honestly, I'd be honest with you, if I got that vibe, I haven't really. I mean, obviously Jack Donaghy's a Republican, but like he's supposed to be kind of a parody of Republicans.
He is. Yes, absolutely.
Am I reading this wrong? I'm like, I think he's a joke. He's a joke. He's like a satirical capitalist.
Yeah. And so like there's a lot of those types of things that they end up like incorporating into the show. And this is one of those episodes that took the joke of 30 Rock is not a feminist thing, or it's one specific kind of feminism, so they do an episode about it. And I think I find that really kind of funny when I was watching it at the time, and now I just love the performance in this. Yes, a lot of it is kind of offensive. I will be the first to admit, but I love Christian.
I didn't have that context either. You know what I mean? Like I didn't have I was like, I know that, like in my head, I was like, I know that this is responding. Like I could tell. Like, it was responding to something. Either it was, like, a wider trend. And, like, I did get it. I just, like, some parts of it, I was like, but that's just this show, too. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. Sometimes just, like, 2024 lens. Ooh. But anyway.
Oh, absolutely. But I love the performance. I especially love Kristen Milioti. Milioti? Is that her name? Kristen Milioti? Isn't she
the Penguin now?
She's in The Penguin. She was in The Wolf of Wall Street, Fargo.
She's so good. When I saw her, like the blonde Harley, like the Harley Quinn get up, and she's like, I'm just a baby. I'm like, oh my God, hey girl. I saw pictures of you looking hot as shit on the red carpet for The Penguin.
And I love that Liz wants to fix her, like, because she is not what her view of feminism is. And then Jenna also wants to destroy her because she is a hotter version of her doing her like act about being like a sexy baby and being the joke and that kind of stuff. And so like,
I invented baby talk in 1998, and she's sitting there going and I was like, fuck, she's the best character in this fucking television show every time. And then not far after, fucking Liz says baby hooker, and she turns around and goes, baby, children's book idea, baby hooker, don't tell Liz. Like,
and she has it on like a tape recorder that she apparently just keeps with her to take notes, and that's
my girl.
Die.
I love her. And, like, I did at the end when it's like, oh, she was pretending to be someone to get away from her abusive husband. I was like, okay, I kind of like that full circle, like, Liz making assumptions. Because the show does do this a lot of the time. Like, it does a good job of being like, no, Liz is kind of an idiot.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
she thinks she's like that. She's like typical white feminism, like, thinks
It's
she's
the
very...
well-meaning white feminist, right?
Yeah.
That, like, well-intentions, you know how those...
Had a run-in with one of those yesterday, and I accidentally made her cry. Oopsie.
I also love that this storyline is also contrasted with Jack Donaghy and his nemesis, who is...
Chloe Grace Moretz is a 14-year-old girl!
that is playing him like a fiddle the entire episode.
I just watched Shadow in the Cloud, and...
I love that.
Oh, you do?
I love that movie.
Oh, I thought it was ass. I love the ending. I thought the reveal was ass. I hated the reveal. Yeah. But anyway, it was just funny. I was like, oh my god, a Chloe Grace Moretz week. This is when she was like hot, when she was in like Kick-Ass and stuff. Because that was when she got her... Oh god. But anyway, she's really good in this. Like, she is an incredibly good actor, especially as a kid. Like, to like be up against like Alec Baldwin and playing with him and Dr. Ballard, the marine biologist. I love that she like goes toe to toe with him. Cause like it's so good.
I mean,
it's so good.
Because like Alec Baldwin, he's a tall guy, he's a big guy, he is, you know, like he's a big actor. He has a lot of awards. He's very famous, and she just like makes me believe that she is his
her like
nemesis.
cute little haircut, and she's just like, I'll fuck your shit up. Also, the fact that Jack Donaghy wanted to be a marine biologist, I was like, I am Jack Donaghy. I'm fucking crocheting right now, and I wanted to be. Okay, I figured I was. Because she was like, I hate the ocean. And I was like, oh my god, me and Terry are going to have so many fun conversations about this little girl who hates the ocean.
I know.
It's very good. It's like, and I love that he wanted to be a marine biologist.
I know.
But there's also like a really interesting, and again, this might be me just going like too like thought process, but like the vibes of Jack Donaghy, who was like born into not a lot and like kind of made his way, versus her who was born into it. They have a really interesting tension there about like he worked his way to this position, which she just gets it. And I think that's really interesting. Like, yes, Jack Donaghy is a very rich Republican, and that is booty butts. But it's an interesting, like, conversation going on here about just, like, generational wealth and what it means, like, to have things handed to you versus you busting your ass, you know? And that sounds like, and that's a very Republican thing to say, and I hate that I said it. But but it is a really interesting, like, for his character and, like, the growth of his character. I think it is really interesting that they have these things going on, like, kind of in between all these, like, jokes. There's actually a really interesting conversation about a guy who just, like, wants to not be poor because he was poor and doesn't want to experience that again. It's very interesting to me.
Yeah. Of course, wrapped up in capitalism, but we live in a capitalist society.
Yeah, we live in a capitalist society. He's definitely, like, took that and like ran with it in a way that's like not good, etc. But like it's interesting how they like have that conversation. They try to have that conversation still.
But it's also like watching his journey, because like all he wanted to do was, well, I say that with like quotations because it's a huge thing. He wanted to be like the CEO of GE. Like that was his goal the entire time. And then of course when NBC gets bought out by Cabletown in this show, that dream dies, and all of a sudden he is faced with a different situation, and then this girl who has been born into wealth, born into privilege, whereas he's kind of worked his way up. So like I do think there's some interesting things there that the show does with his character that makes him a little bit more relatable, I think. This sort of like, I have worked my ass off to get here, and then Donald Trump comes in. Anyway.
Matt Gaetz is his fucking attorney general. I need to
escape
this planet.
I can't.
I'm so mad. I
just can't.
Mad. Okay, we don't have to talk about this, but like I'm so angry.
Please.
Hey everyone, really quick. Organize. Love your community, please. Like we gotta start working. We gotta start loving each other more and doing the work, because with what I am seeing, the next 4 years are going to be garbage ass pants. Worse than they were I'm not trying to fearmonger here at all.
I'm worried about my job.
So, just community, care, organize as much as you can, and we gotta push back against this shit. Anyway, 30 Rock.
Queen of Jordan, the episode that I've been like kind of dying. One of the two episodes I've been kind of dying for you to see. And yes, you sort of tipped off a little bit about the May-December Latorno kind of connection, which is uncomfortable. Absolutely.
Well, the only part that was like incredibly uncomfortable is when my least favorite person, Pete, goes, "That's terrible when a man does it to a woman," and I was just like, I was making dinner and I was like, I know that this is, I was like shopping, so I was like, I know that this is just a show, because like everyone knows who I am and what I research, and like that attitude just makes me so angry. So like to just see it in a show like that, and I know like it's a joke, but it's just a bad joke. It's a bad joke.
No, it is a bad joke. It is a bad joke.
And Pete gets all the bad jokes, which is why Pete should be arrested and put into prison. Life without
Shot
parole.
out of a cannon.
Yeah, life without parole for sure. But that really, I mean, that issue and that plot line, bizarre as shit. But really what is going on here is this is like a Bravo show. This is an episode of Bravo, which is why this is the reason why you were so excited for me to see it, because everyone knows I am a Bravo bitch and I love this shit. I love Real Housewives, trash television about women and their gay friends being menaces to society with a lot of money. And they really did a good job.
I was curious because like I don't watch that type of show, but there's two Queen of Jordan episodes, one in this season and one in season 6, and they are some of my favorite just because like it's a completely different type of show, and yet they still maintain the jokes, but I feel like they lampoon some of the things incredibly well as someone that hasn't really watched a whole lot. So I was curious.
I was interested in how they were going to do it, and this feels like an episode of The Office too. Like it's got an Office vibe to it, because they do have these like, this isn't the polish we're used to seeing. It's got the handheld cam vibe of like your fly on the wall. That was really incredible. But then just to see how, I guess I just thought it would be like focused mostly on her, but the fact that it was like a whole work day, or it was like everyone in this, was very incredible, especially because Jack wants so bad not to be portrayed as a moron because he trips and falls. And like everyone always bitches about their edit on these shows, and it's like, I got the villain edit, I got the dumb bitch edit, and him talking about you can't put that in the edit is like the Bravo fourth wall breaking that I live for.
Yeah.
But this is also before. Wait, what year is this?
This came out in 2011.
Yeah, so this is doing a lot of stuff that like is more common now in Bravo shows in terms of breaking the fourth wall. People didn't do that as much in the early days. But I also just absolutely love the drama, especially with Titus. What's the actor's name?
Titus.
It's not Andromedon,
because
that's his
no, because that is what stuck in my head. Titus Burgess as DeFwan.
Titus Burgess as like her gay best friend who like calls
who's a queer perfectionist.
Oh my god, he is the most incredible addition to this, because he epitomizes what the gay catty best friend is like in a lot of these shows, in terms of like stirring up shit and like causing problems, but also like scheming. And I just really do love how they use that style of like zooming in, and then also the confessionals and everything else. It's just my single is dropping.
What's that now? And it's only 15 seconds long.
And like my favorite is that like they also capture, oh my god, is this like, hold on, because this specifically captures, oh god, I googled Real Housewives of New York and there's just so much fucking information. 2011 was season 3. This is important, I promise. Okay, so by no means do I know if this is based on this, but at the same time as this is coming out, like 2011, Real Housewives of New York, this is like peak Luann de Lesseps and her pop career. And so if you're like, money can't buy your class, money can't buy you class, elegance is learned, my friend. Elegance is... I swear to fucking God, that is a real song that she sang and released as a single. And so when Tracy's wife goes,
my single is dropping. I go, these motherfuckers were watching Luann Lesseps fucking delusional ass try to become a pop star and just added a little bit of dash of her into this. She's still crazy, and I think she still does music from time to time, but like this was the beginning of I think this was like right after her divorce and when she started doing the pop diva stuff.
I love it. Sherry Shepherd also as Angie is so good. I love her. People love the way she says ham. Ham.
Ham.
I love the way though too that she calls Liz Lemon on her shit. I'd be like, don't do impressions of other races, Liz. Like,
oh my god, I was so happy. I was like, oh, this is incredible. She like immediately was like, are you trying to tell me what to do? Like a waiter. And she just like puts Liz in her place so fast. It's incredible. Yeah. Because again, white feminism of like being nervous around black women, and like Tracy's wife can just like so easily tell, and she's like, yeah, no, you fuck off. And I adore that this show does that, because a lot of shows didn't do that.
Yeah.
And like while her character isn't a regular, it is nice to see a black female character in the early 2010s be like, shut the fuck up. Like, you don't get enough of that in television in that time period. So,
and as much as I dislike the side plot with Lynn Onkman, who's played by Susan Sarandon, by the way.
Yeah, what the hell was that? I was like, I didn't have it up at first, and I just heard her voice, and I'm like, I'm sorry, is Susan Sarandon the teacher that had sex with Frank when he was in school? And I was like, my lord.
What I do love is while that is not my favorite part of this episode, I do love the conversation that she has with Frank at Randy, the white woman who is a Christian illiterate, at her stripicide studio. And she is literally doing like a pole routine behind them while they are having a heartfelt question mark conversation.
That was incredible. She's like, keep going. I'm not listening.
I love it. I love it so much. There's so much visual jokes in this episode. That
there are. Because again, it's the style. A lot of the jokes come from the style. It's hard to like translate that into like a joke that is told verbally. It's all about how they use the camera so differently, and that's why like I think that format is so funny and so successful, and also just like how reality television is just like absolutely bananagrams.
And Jenna trying to get screen time by throwing wine at everyone, and then she gets so excited.
That happens. That's such a thing. A lot of these women, when they want a storyline, they just start throwing shit. Like Teresa in Real Houses of New Jersey, she's thrown quite a few tables. Whole tables. Really? Yeah, her like iconic thing was she took a table and said, prostitution whore, engaged 19 times, and she throws a table.
Wow.
Yeah, prostitution whore is exactly what she said too, which I find hysterical.
Isn't that what Jenna says in this episode too? Doesn't she call someone that same thing?
Oh my god, does she call her a prostitution whore? Oh,
I think she does. She says something that is basically that.
I don't know if I clocked that. Again, if they're pulling from, like, because Real Housewives was in early days in 2011. Like, I think it was New York, there was OC, and then I also think New Jersey and Beverly Hills.
Which one?
Atlanta too.
Was it Nene? Nene Leakes? Because, like, the only reason I knew her was her role on Glee.
You have to watch the seasons when she's in Glee on the show. It's so funny.
Oh, really?
But, like, I thought they were going to pull more from, like, Atlanta stuff. But just, again, because it's, like, I thought they were going to only focus on the black characters. And I was like, oh, it's going to be, like, more of a... But they actually did a lot of really, like, hilarious, just in general reality TV, like, Bravo shit. That I was cackling. It was very good.
And one of the things that I will sometimes quote is when Jenna is like... drama, crying, redemption, like perhaps a song. Like she's like, this is the best day ever. And then it cuts to her at her intervention. She's like, the beauty of redemption.
She's like, I don't need an intervention. Read me your letters.
It's so good.
It's so good. Next, when we go to Unnamed, I'm going to be like, wake up in the morning, I'm going to just turn over and be like, crying, redemption, maybe even a song. It's going to be a great day.
Oh god. Oh god. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
I did. I very much did. And again,
I was really excited for you to
very
see this
impressive to see like that stuff, and also just how it hasn't changed either, which is, or also kind of weirdly heartwarming sometimes when like some things never change. White rich women always be crazy, and well, rich women in general. I don't think, because Real Housewives, it just shows everyone with like every woman who's given a certain amount of money is like a little bit cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Okay, so where are you taking me next on our journey? Our journey.
So we're done with season 5. We're gonna skip ahead to season 6.
Okay.
The most important thing I need to tell you is that by the first episode of season 6, Avery, Elizabeth Banks' character,
Yes,
has been imprisoned in North Korea for being a spy.
okay. And she's still pregnant?
No, baby's already out. Baby, they named her.
Baby's out.
It's one way of saying it, I guess.
Baby out, baby.
Baby out. No, the baby's already been born. They named her. They were gonna name her Liz, but then they changed it to Liddy, and that becomes a kind of a joke in the first episode of season 6. But that is the big thing, is that she is gone, and she is in North Korea, and Jack wants to get her back. That is like, I think the big thing. Oh, and 30 Rock almost 30 Rock was almost canceled because Tracy Jordan didn't come back. Tracy Jordan ends up coming back, and by the end of the start of season 6, everything's back to normal, minus the fact that Avery is imprisoned in
North Korea. Okay, it's like a fucking soap opera. I swear to God.
Yeah. But we're gonna be watching episode 1, Dance Like Nobody's Watching, which has one of the most heartwarming endings for me. I love the ending of this episode.
Okay.
And then we're skipping to episode 8, The Tuxedo Begins, which is a riff on Batman.
All right. Fuck yeah.
But who are we talking with on Monday, Mary Beth? I'm very excited for this one.
On Monday, I closed the document. On Monday, we are chatting with Dash Kiwatowski. They are the creator of Liminal TV, which is a paranormal research show that is focused on looking at the connections between queerness and the paranormal, particularly in the rural South. And they brought with them a revisit Jurassic Park, which is so fun, and I get to nerd out with Dash a little bit about cryptids and weird esoteric stuff, and Terry gets to watch me do that, and it's very fun. We don't go too crazy, don't worry, but we do talk about tulpas, as Bigfoot as a tulpa for a little bit. Just be prepared.
Yes. They have a fun thought about what Bigfoot is.
It's just, like, very cool. Dash is very cool, and you know what? Being trans is magic, and I think that they do such an incredible job of talking about that, and like that thought process that kind of guides their practice and guides their kind of like purpose with the show specifically. And also they did a really cool episode with Ray Wise, so those are both on YouTube if you want to check them out before the episode. They're like an hour long. So listeners, you've heard from us, we want to hear from you. Did you enjoy any of the things that we have enjoyed this past 2-ish weeks in the hell zone that is the United States of America? We want to hear from you because we love each and every one of you. Well, for the most part. I'm just kidding. You can send us an email at scarredforlifepodcast@gmail.com. You can find us on social media. As I have said, I am back on my Blue Sky bullshit because Twitter has gotten even more rotten in the last couple of days even. But yeah. I'm still there. I'm at MB McAndrews on Twitter and Blue Sky, and I'm at MB.McAndrews on Instagram.
I'm at Gaily Dreadful everywhere. However, I have deleted Twitter from my phone. I'm not checking it. And because of that, you probably won't see any updates on Scarred for Life at there as well.
I'll take those over. I'll do them on mine because I have to be on Twitter for my stupid fucking job. No, I know. Kidding. I know. I have to be on Twitter for work.
I feel bad for people that are forced to stick there, but like, I'm done. So Blue Sky is it for me.
That's valid. I think, I've lost like almost 200 followers between them. Really? Like between
people, like, they're sweeping all the bots from Twitter after the election, but then they're also, I think everyone's leaving. Like, a lot of people have deleted their accounts entirely, so we'll see. But we're also on Blue Sky for Scarred for Life. We're on Twitter and Blue Sky at Scarred Podcast, and we're on Instagram at Scarred for Life Podcast.
And please don't forget to review, rate, and subscribe. And if you want to help support us, we do have a Patreon.
Thank you to Eric Power for our artwork. Thank you to Sean Keller for our music. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Please, please, please stay safe out there. But most importantly, at this point, at the same equal, stay safe out there and also stay creepy.
Yes. And until next time.